A young woman and a child were separated while escaping the violence of their country and asked for asylum in the US. Several months later, they can finally be together and start a new life. In the midst of chaos and violence, Ana and her young son Carlos found themselves fleeing their homeland, seeking safety and hope across borders. But fate had a different plan for them as they reached the shores of the United States, tearing them apart in pursuit of asylum. Separated by a sea of uncertainty, Ana clung to the belief that they would one day be reunited, where they could finally embark on a new life together. Ana stole a glance behind her at the bland building. She stopped like a deer frozen in headlights, clutching her son close to her leg. After lingering for a moment, she gently nudged for her son Carlos to look. "Do you see that, my son?" she asked, pointing to the gray building, which was labeled El Saba Prison. She narrowed her eyes on it. "We're never coming back here." Ana had grown up in El Saba, a poor community in the heart of Honduras. Her parents had always wanted a way out, but could never reach it. Due to there not being much to do, the crime and drug rates were through the roof. Ana had always stayed away from it, however. Her brother Felipe was sucked into it. He had begun dealing drugs, which introduced Juan into their lives. Juan was a ruthless drug dealer, probably about 2 notches above Felipe. He had a nasty reputation for murdering people. Unluckily enough for Ana, Juan had set his sights on her. He would attempt to ask her out every time he swung by for her brother. She always declined, but one day, Juan started to assault Ana. Around the time she found out she was pregnant, Juan was arrested and sent to prison. He demanded she bring their son to him after he was born. After just one visit, she knew that she couldn't put her son through this anymore. The day that she put her plan into motion, Ana's heart raced through her chest and her palms sweat. It would be the biggest decision she's ever made in her life, and it not only affected her, but Carlos too. She packed necessities in a small knapsack that she slung over her shoulder. She ensured Carlos was wearing a hat and that they brought all the sunscreen they owned. Felipe's intense gaze fixated on the counter, his emotions swirling inside him. He turned to face Ana, who was meticulously folding shirts nearby. Concern etched into his features as he voiced his fears, worrying about the potential dangers that lay ahead for both Ana and Carlos. Ana, however, appeared to stand her ground, her posture steady as she responded to Felipe's concerns. Her determination shone through as she explained that leaving was the best decision for their family, especially for Carlos, who deserved a safer and better life than what they would have with Juan. Memories of Juan's presence and the ominous people he associated with flitted through Ana's mind. She knew they needed to escape this environment to protect their future. With a sack slung over her shoulder, Ana called out to Carlos, her voice filled with love and hope. Carlos, a bright-eyed young boy, rushed at her side, curiosity evident in his gaze. He looked up to his mother, seeking an answer to the mystery of their sudden departure. Kneeling down to his level, Ana smiled, trying to instill optimism and excitement into his heart. She explained that they were embarking on a journey to a place where they could build a better life together, away from the shadows of fear and danger. In that moment, the bond between Ana, Felipe, and Carlos grew stronger. It was a leap of faith they were taking together, driven by love and the desire for a brighter future. Their determination to leave the darkness behind and embrace new opportunities marked the beginning of a brave adventure filled with uncertainties and hope. After much more useless protest from Felipe, both Ana and Carlos set off for Mexico and the United States border. She had heard about a man named Diego that would guide them there for a small fee. With her sack slung over her shoulders, Ana and Carlos had marched through the sand behind a line of people for days. Each person had their dreams and hopes, all intertwined with the shared struggle for a brighter future. The sun beat down and fried all of them like fish, and blisters easily formed on their feet. Their clothes were soaked with sweat, yet they were all determined. Carlos was weakly complaining about the heat. Ana wiped a bead of sweat from her forehead. Despite knowing this was a good thing, her heart still ached for Carlos. "I know, baby, just keep on walking. We'll make it." They trudged along for the next couple of hours. Their faces remained flushed, and sweat was coming from every pore. The dry and cracked ground under their feet caused each step to feel even more laborious. The desert seemed endless, with sand dunes stretching for miles and miles. The heat caused the air to seem like it was shimmering, thus distorting some of the landscape. As the crew continued, the relentless sun beat down on them, searing their skin and sapping their energy. But Ana and Carlos still pressed on. With each passing mile, Ana's heart swelled with both fear and determination. She thought of all the sacrifices they had made, the dangers they had faced, and the hope that had fueled their journey. She knew there was no turning back now. She knew this grueling journey would be their only chance to escape the violence they'd come from. Most importantly, one. Within the next couple of hours, dusk was nearing. As Anna and Carlos neared the border, the persistent fear of immigration intensified. They had heard stories of families being detained and separated, and Anna couldn't bear the thought of being torn away from Carlos. As they approached a particularly treacherous stretch of the desert, Diego signaled for everyone to crouch low and stay hidden. "Get down," he whispered, gesturing for everyone to quickly drop. The vastness of the desert provided little cover. Anna and Carlos relied on the small sand dunes and bushes for concealment. They waited in anxious silence, their hearts pounding with every passing moment. Anna kept Carlos close the entire time, wrapping her arms around him protectively. She whispered soothing words into his ear, trying to keep him calm. Finally, Diego deemed it safe for them to all continue. As they approached the border, they came across their last obstacles: harsh terrain, barbed wire fences, and surveillance cameras. In the distance, they could see the lights of a border checkpoint. Fear gripped Anna, but she knew there was no choice but to continue. They had come too far to turn back now. Anna froze as lights illuminated the whole group. She spun around and, like a literal deer in headlights, gaped at the truck before them. Panic surged through her veins. She clutched Carlos tightly, her protective instincts kicking into overdrive. Deep down, Anna knew that at this point, running was not the best option. Two officers got out of the truck. They approached, their expressions stern. Anna's mind raced, trying to find a way out of this nightmare, but there was no escape. They were caught. It was a done deal. "Step away from the child," one of the officers commanded, his focus on Anna. Anna's grip on Carlos tightened, refusing to let go. Tears welled up in her eyes as she pleaded, "Please, you don't understand. We're seeking asylum. We're running away from violence and danger." But her pleas fell on deaf ears. The officers forcibly separated Anna from Carlos, and she watched in anguish as they took her son away from her, his small hand reaching out for her as he was led in another direction. Anna squinted as her eyes slowly opened. Above her was a fluorescent light that only goes off from 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. Must be at least 5:30, she thought to herself. It had been weeks since she'd last seen Carlos, and the haunting image of him being ripped away from her was etched into her mind. Several questions plagued her throughout the day. Where was Carlos? Was he with other children? How could she somehow get into contact with him? She sat up and rubbed her eyes. She looked around. Rows of metal beds lined the walls, each covered with a very thin, scratchy blanket. They showed signs of wear and tear, their metal frames scuffed. The air felt stale and heavy, the fear almost palpable. Her eyes wandered to the other detainees in the room, who all had expressions mirroring their own anguish. Most were huddled together into small groups chatting, while others sat alone, lost completely in their thoughts. In one corner, a woman wept softly, her shoulders trembling with grief. Anna's gaze returned to the ceiling, focusing on the flickering light above her. As Anna sat lost in her thoughts, a voice broke through the silence, bringing her back to the present moment. She looked up to find Maritza, a young woman exuding warmth and determination, standing before her. Anna returned the smile, grateful for Maritza's guidance and support in navigating the unfamiliar world of technology. Her limited experience with computers made the process challenging, but Maritza's expertise made it easier. With skillful hands, Maritza navigated through various legal websites and resources, seeking avenues for Anna to pursue asylum and reunite with her family. Months had passed since Anna arrived at the immigration center, and Maritza's dedication to helping others exemplified her resilient spirit. Pointing to a website on the screen, Maritza suggested a legal aid organization that specialized in asylum cases and family reunification. Hope flickered in Anna's eyes as she saw a glimmer of possibility. Maritza's warm smile and words reassured Anna that they were not alone in their struggles. United in their pursuit of a fresh start and family reunification, they faced the challenges with determination and resilience. Despite the hardships they encountered, Maritza's encouraging spirit prevailed, reminding Anna that they should not be deterred by the obstacles posed by those with different backgrounds or views. Anna perused the website. She had been unable to call anyone due to not having money in her account. Yet she had no way to add money to it. Luckily, she spotted an option to email them. After creating a new email account, Anna drafted an email. To whom may be concerned, hello. My name is Ana Morales. I am from Honduras, where I was attempting to relocate with my son from. We are running from the danger not only in our country, but in our personal lives. You see, my brother was involved in dealing drugs for a gang that brought questionable people into our lives, and I ended up with my lovely son. I had to give him a better life. He has been ripped away from me. I haven't seen my son in weeks. Please help me." As soon as she clicked send, she felt her heart skip a beat. Days passed, and Anna anxiously checked her email every chance she got, hoping for a response. The uncertainty weighed heavily on her, so she decided to confide in Maritza about the email she had sent. Maritza placed her hand on Anna's shoulder. "Don't lose hope, Anna. Sometimes it takes time for them to reply. You did the right thing by reaching out for help." As the days turned into weeks, Anna's anxiety only deepened. She felt a sense of helplessness, wondering if her email had gone unnoticed or if anyone would ever come to her aid. Then, one day, as Anna was scrolling through her inbox, she saw a new email notification. With her heart beating through her chest, Anna clicked the email open. Her eyes quickly scanned the email. "Ana Morales, we have received your email and understand the urgency of your situation. Our organization is dedicated to assisting individuals like yourself who are seeking asylum and family reunification. We are currently reviewing your case and will be in touch with you soon to discuss further steps. Thank you for reaching out to us. Sincerely, the legal aid team." Anna gasped, tears of relief welling up in her eyes. She finally could have the feeling they could receive some help. Weeks went by with no updates. Anna felt her heart sink with every passing day, and she wondered if she would ever see Carlos again. What if he were to be returned to Honduras? Pushing these thoughts out of her head, Anna decided to sit down once more and check her email. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, she received another email from the legal aid team, informing her that they would be visiting the immigration center to conduct an interview with her. Excitement and nervousness intertwined as Anna prepared for the meeting. The day of the interview arrived, and Anna sat anxiously waiting for the legal aid team to arrive. She sat in a small plain room at the immigration center. The room was sparsely furnished with a simple wooden table and a few chairs. The walls were painted a dull shade of beige, and the only source of light came from a single window with bars on it. As she waited, Anna fidgeted with her hands, her heart pounding in her chest. She took deep breaths, trying to calm her nerves. Finally, the door opened, and two people walked in. They introduced themselves as members of the legal aid team, two lawyers. Anna tried to compose herself, sitting up straight in her chair as they took their seats across from her. The lead lawyer began the interview. She had asked Anna to recount her journey and to list reasons why they wanted to seek asylum in the United States. Anna recounted her journey from Honduras, the violence she had fled, and the heart-wrenching separation from her beloved son, Carlos. She made sure to mention one, and that she didn't want Carlos to remember him. Her emotions poured out as she described the fear and desperation that had led her to seek asylum in the United States. The lawyers listened intently, taking notes and occasionally nodding in understanding. Anna appreciated their patience and attentiveness, feeling a glimmer of hope that someone was finally hearing her story and taking it seriously. The interview concluded after what felt like an eternity. The lawyers assured Anna that they would review her case thoroughly and advocate on her behalf. They promised to do everything within their power to help her find a resolution and be reunited with her son. After the grueling wait, Anna received the news she had been desperately hoping for. Her asylum application was approved, and she would be allowed to stay in the United States. The legal aid team had successfully presented her case, highlighting the dangers she faced back in Honduras and the need for protection for both her and her son, Carlos. However, the battle wasn't over just yet. While Anna had been granted asylum, the process of reuniting with Carlos proved to be a complex and challenging one. The authorities informed Anna that Carlos had been placed in a shelter for unaccompanied minors, but they could not provide specific details on his whereabouts. Determined not to lose hope, Anna worked tirelessly with her legal team and immigration advocates to locate her son. They made countless phone calls, sent emails, and reached out to various organizations for support. Finally, after weeks of relentless effort, Anna received the news she had been praying for. Carlos had been located, and they would be reunited at last. The moment was overwhelming. The legal team helped facilitate the process, and soon enough, Anna stood at the shelter's entrance, her heart pounding with anticipation. As the shelter doors opened, Anna saw Carlos standing there, his eyes wide with surprise and uncertainty. But as he recognized his mother, his face lit up with a mix of disbelief and sheer joy. Without hesitation, mother and son ran into each other's arms, holding each other tightly as if they would never let go. In that moment, all the pain and struggle they had endured melted away. They were together again and nothing else mattered. Carlos's eyes were filled with questions, but Ana assured him that they were safe now, that they would face the future together. With the help of support services and organizations, Ana and Carlos began the process of rebuilding their lives. They found a small apartment to call home, and Ana enrolled Carlos in school. As the days turned into months, Ana continued to work with immigration advocates to ensure their legal status was secured and that they had access to the resources they needed. Through the ups and downs, Ana learned that strength could be found not only in survival, but also in asking for help and accepting support from others. She and Carlos faced their fears together, knowing that their love and bond were the keys to overcoming any obstacles that lay ahead. Their journey was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of love and hope to conquer even the darkest of times. As Ana and Carlos built their new life, they never forgot the struggles they had endured, but they also never lost sight of the bright future they had created for themselves. In the end, Ana's journey to asylum was not just a story of survival, but a story of transformation and triumph against all odds. With her son by her side, Ana embraced the promise of a new beginning and the hope of a better future, forever grateful for the second chance that had been given to them. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe, and this other story that may be appearing on the screen will most likely move you as well. Have a nice day and see you in the next video.